gosh, look at the crowd.
Come this way.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Welcome to LMDtv. I'm Ashwini Vethakan. As we continue our series on the state of the nation, this week's show features cricketing legend Roshan Mahanama. Thank you for joining us on the show this evening, Roshan.
Thank you, Ashwini. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to be part of the program. I must tell you, I hardly do interviews. I get invitations to be part of interviews quite frequently, but I've stayed away from the media limelight for obvious reasons. I feel that I've lived my life. Two-thirds of my life is gone. I'm on the last leg, and my only hope now is to try and leave a better place for the younger generation. That's why I decided to be part of this program.
Well, thank you for picking us as one of the few. Now, Roshan, as someone who has been involved in the people's movement from the grassroots level, how would you encourage the common man to hold public figures and politicians accountable and to hold them to a duty of care?
Ashwini, I'll tell you at the outset that I'm not a politician. I don't come from a political background. I'm not an economist. I don't have an economic background. But I have always been there for the people purely because the people have made my career. They have been there during good times, bad times for me, and I just thought it was my responsibility, irrespective of whether it's a common man or it's anyone, any person in this country. I think I have a responsibility to make these politicians accountable. I have decided to come out and speak or be part of similar programs is to try and get a message across to the target audience that you're catering to. That's an audience, I feel, from my point of view, who I think can make these politicians responsible and accountable. I think we, when I say we, that audience does not come out and forcefully tell the politicians if they are not doing what they should do. I think they do have a responsibility. I'll relate a story. A friend of mine called me a couple of years ago, and he said, Roshan Malli, that's the way we speak to each other. I admire you. Don't think that I'm trying to talk about myself. I can only talk about what I have experienced and what I feel about the leaders of our country. And he said, I like you because you're fearless when you talk about the politicians. At the time I told that I haven't got a trophy from them, so I can afford to talk, because these politicians should not forget that they are public servants. They get to parliament because of the votes of the people. The people are the ones who give them an opportunity to live a luxurious life with parliamentary benefits. So I think these politicians, the leaders, have a responsibility to make sure that the people of the country are comfortable. And I also would like to tell you, Ashwini, this struggle did not start in April. I saw people coming onto the street towards mid-March, and silently we supported. From what I can remember, I was telling my wife as well, I think a group of people came onto the streets in Kohuwala, then subsequently Dehiwala, and then it just kept going. And I saw one of my father's friends also, he was 80 plus, he said we need our basic essentials. I think the politicians pushed the people onto the streets. So I think it's not only me, I think everyone has a responsibility to show their support, this is from my point of view, towards the people's struggle and get these politicians to be accountable. I saw something again, I do some corporate sessions, share my experience, knowledge, and in all those corporate sessions, Ashwini, I bring in a segment about honesty, integrity, values. And I feel the segment that you're catering to should touch their heart and think for themselves whether they have been honest to themselves. This is something that I saw from one great leader whom I have a lot of respect and regard, Nelson Mandela. I use this clip as and when I can. He says, first, be honest with yourself. So I ask all these people to touch their heart and see whether they have been honest, they have been true to the country that has made them who they are, or whether they have been selfish. Because I feel I couldn't actually finish what I was trying to tell you before as well about my friend. He said, Malli, you speak fearlessly about the politicians. I was in the top 8 of a blue chip company. I don't want to mention the name of the company. The chairman and the board of directors, when there is issue, they say, let's keep quiet, because they are worried that their company will be victimized. If you have that mindset that you will be victimized by the leaders whom you have appointed, then you allow them to treat us like slaves. So I think we have a responsibility. Sorry, I've gone beyond. And Ashwin, I need to tell you, you've got a list of questions, but I have come here today with a heavy heart, and I thought I need to speak my mind out as well.
Over the years, we have forgotten that politicians are public servants and in actual fact serve to the pleasure of the people who put them in their positions with a vote. Do you see a way to regain this lost equilibrium?
I don't think basically we have treated in that manner. I told you before the start of the program as well, I've been saying this for a very long time. I've told wherever I've been invited, I've told them just don't invite me because of what I have done. Screen me, look into what I have done, and invite me for events, functions. But in Sri Lanka, we basically hero worship them, the politicians. We think that they are superheroes. I don't know whether that's the mindset that the people have, or is it because they're worried, thinking that if we don't invite them, if we don't make them comfortable, that we will lose out on the benefits that we deserve. Politicians should always think that they are only serving the people of this country. So the people have all the right to pick and choose whom they want to invite for events. I think unless we start doing that, I think we will always have these leaders, the politicians, do whatever they feel it's good for them and not for the country. And I feel these are selfish moves, and we need to now put pressure on all these from now onwards, who's going to take over the country, show leadership, that they have a responsibility towards the people of this country, and not only with a few group of friends or people that they know. It's the people who have sent the majority into parliament, and they have a responsibility. So I think what we need to do is, I don't think we treated them like that in the past, but from now onwards, we need to get them to be public servants, and they are there to serve the people.
Today, Sri Lanka's youth are clamoring for system change, and they stress that a mere change of figureheads will not solve the burning issues of the country. What do you see as the most urgent change being called for? What do you see as a priority?
Before I get there, why do you think the younger generation got so upset? Why do you think they got alarmed? It's purely because there was no electricity, right? They were used to a particular lifestyle. This is the generation that was used to sending or being on social media. That's one, right? People might think that, this is something that they were doing to take their stress levels out or to communicate with people, but that was something that was bringing people together as well, friends together and so on. Then they realized that their parents were struggling. There was no essential items, there was no fuel, there was no medicine, there was a scarcity of milk powder. So when that happened, the younger generation decided to get onto the streets and demand from the leaders to do whatever that is required from them. From my point of view, like I said at the outset as well, I'm not an economist. I don't come from a political background. If I wanted to do politics, I would have done 23 years ago when I was approached soon after I finished playing. But I just thought, no, you don't need power to do something for your fellow Sri Lankans, your brothers and sisters. So I have done whatever I feel that I could do in my small way. But right now, coming back to your question, they are already late. I'm surprised that it took them 5 weeks, 6 weeks to at least appoint a prime minister. Forget about who the individual is. There is a burning issue. They took time when everyone said that we need the international community to come forward and help us to resolve and get back on our feet. They were fighting amongst themselves. I think if the younger generation was watching how they behave in parliament, not that it's a surprise, they've been behaving like this for a long time. I don't think they were behaving in a manner that the leaders of a country would behave. I think what they need to do is to restructure the loans, to see how they can make the people comfortable and get the country back on track. It'll take a long time, it'll be hard, but they need to take decisions fast. I'm not going to mention names, I'm not going to talk about parties. We should forget about party politics, we should forget about our political differences, the background, race, religion, all that doesn't come into the equation. As far as I'm concerned, we are all Sri Lankans. We should be proudly wearing this, and we should work towards every citizen of this country, not only a segment that will support them and make them feel comfortable in whatever they want to do. No, that's not what we want as a country. We want to be together, live together in peace and harmony, and this environment has to be created by the leaders, and that's what I think now people are demanding from them.
Now, Roshan, you have been very vocal about the actions of our short-sighted politicians, and you've actually used your voice to call them out. Is there any way we could encourage more of our popular figures to come forward and use their voice in the same way?
Ashwini, like I told you before, it's not the prominent figures or prominent personalities. I think the corporates do have a responsibility. Everyone who I feel has been contributing towards the economy of this country, also towards building the image of the country in so many different ways. It can be artists, sporting personalities, people who are talented in different ways, but they should do whatever they could with the best interest of the country. They should not be selfish. Sadly, what I see now is most people are self-centered to see what they can get. Oh, I'm doing a business, so what harm in I doing something with a politician and get something extra? No, if there is a process, we need to follow the process. We should not use our friendship or anything to do something which is something unethical. So coming back to this thing, first we need to correct ourselves, right? Like I told you before, Nelson Mandela said, be honest with yourself, and use that to get a message across. Now the platform is set for us to start. I know it's going to be a struggle, it's going to be hard, but if we make the change, now we have told these people in no uncertain terms that we are not going to take anything lightly. We want action, we want accountability, we want them to perform. So to do that, people have to be people who are calling for that, or the personalities that you're talking about have to be genuine. And I see now, even with this struggle or the aragale, whatever you want to call it, I've seen a group of people who are very close to these politicians now coming with boards. I feel they are traitors. First, they should come and say, yes, we made mistakes. We were so close with them. We were supporting them to do the wrong thing. We benefited. I have seen so many of them, and for me, it hurts more. Right? Because people then put us also in that same category. Like I told you before, yes, I have two small businesses, one's done by my brother-in-law and the other by my son-in-law, because I will not make a good businessman. And like I told you before, I go and do some corporate segments, corporate programs, and I bring in a segment where I talk about Personally for me, this is what I follow: honesty, integrity, values, friendship, loyalty, discipline. I put money last. You think what happens, Ashwini, you're young enough. What if we put money first? You will compromise on all the other values. So we have to demand, coming back to your question, for these people to do the right thing. For us to do that, we have to do the right thing first. And let's start now and getting that, let's start and all of us get that message across strongly to the so-called leaders of our country.
As a citizen of Sri Lanka, who do you think should be held accountable for the events which took place on the 9th of May?
For me personally, I was at a small event. I was busy, but I got some calls to say that there were groups of people traveling in buses towards Colombo. Later on, I got to know that they are gone to Temple Trees to meet the president. And the reason behind for them to have a discussion and for them to have left that place, I get the impression that someone would have provoked. So, if someone has provoked, they should be held responsible. And for me, anyway, the Prime Minister is somebody who basically decides on law and order. So, if he couldn't control the people who left from his residence or the official office, then who's going to control them? We need to get them to have an impartial inquiry and make sure that whoever who was behind this are being punished. It's very important because this struggle was going on, or the Aragalaya was going on for what, 4 weeks by then. So why suddenly? Why, when everyone was calling for the Prime Minister to step down, you're leaving room for people to doubt every motive, every move? So I think there might be a group of people. I think again that they have to have an impartial inquiry and punish whoever who was behind, because it sent a very, very poor message to the international community as well. I've been talking to a lot of them. I was in India 2 weeks ago. We have become the laughing stock. They feel that it's because of the Aragalaya. No. When did they have the travel ban for people who are not travel ban, but a travel warning for people who are traveling from the UK? It was before the Aragalaya. Right? So don't blame these people. They push the people onto the streets. It's them who are responsible. So likewise, I think they need to take the responsibility.
And on that note, we'll be going in for a short break.
You love the feeling of being renewed. To stay beautiful every single day. To breathe just like we do, because you are truly delicate, protecting the ones who've been with us through the years. With Sayalac Care, the only wood coating that truly protects you. Sayalac Wood Coatings from Jat.
Welcome back to the show as we continue our conversation with former cricketing legend Roshan Mahanama. Now Roshan, in your opinion, what are the immediate steps that Sri Lanka needs to take now?
Like I said again, I'm not an economist. I've been reading, talking to people to get a better understanding of how we can get out of this mess. Like I told you before as well, my fear was that Sri Lanka will be another Zimbabwe. I'm not running any countries down. I feel even that country was ruined by one leader who was selfish, who was self-centered. And I saw recently again, the central bank governor has said if you don't make any decisions in the next 10, 12 days, then he's going to leave. He is an important person to bring back stability, work towards a solution. With him, yes, we have appointed a prime minister. There's no point in talking about the appointment of the individual. I know there are two sides to all this, but from my point of view, it's not about the two sides. It's all about bringing someone and a cabinet to take some important decisions. I think we have no time to waste. We will have to look at restructuring our debt and also looking at IMF and other organizations to bail us out of this situation. So that's priority, that's important, and then we can look at everything else from my point of view.
Now, is Sri Lanka in danger of spiraling into anarchy, and what role could public figures such as yourself play in averting such potential tragedy?
I think our responsibility is to send a message across. Right now, we don't, when I say right now, sorry, I think Prime Minister was elected yesterday. They are in the process of forming a government. But by saying that our message should be for everyone to stay calm, our struggle, their protests have been peaceful, continue it in a peaceful manner, demand, and it's very important that we should not take law into our own hands. Yes, we saw for a brief period, but I think like I told you, the prominent personalities, people who can get a message across, should get together or come forward and drive that message across. Please don't resort to violence. Don't take law into your hands. We are all frustrated. We are all going through a difficult phase of our lives, but by saying that, we are all planning towards having a better future. I know maybe even for you, Ashwini, 10 years of your life has got affected, but always think of the future generations. Why I say that is I've gone a step further than most people who are my age, because I've got 2 grandkids. I got an opportunity to leave this country and go 12 years ago when a friend of mine gave me papers to sign to get the PR in Australia. I declined. I proudly say I'm more patriotic than the president of this country. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to let go of my citizenship, right? So the loyalty and things like that also we need to look at. You know, some of them, they just come projecting image that they are fond of the country. No. So we all get together and get that message across to the youth, the youngsters. Stay calm. We can't take law into our own hands, and demand for the leaders to do what is required.
And how did you view the proceedings from last Thursday, from the various factions that vied for the premiership to the appointment of the new Prime Minister?
What I told you before also, Ashwini, it's not about the individual. I think a lot of these individuals have lost confidence of people of this country, right? But facts are stubborn. We have to pick someone from the group. The demand has been for the President and Prime Minister to step down. Yes, the Prime Minister stepped down, but if the President is not willing to step down, we need to think of the country, right? We can't go on, from my point of view again, while I encourage people to keep the fight against the politicians. It's not the fight, but at least sending a message across to the leaders. But it is very important that we get somebody, stabilize and take some important decisions. So like I said, a lot of these individuals who are there right now have lost the confidence of the people. Yes, even in sports sometimes says it's good to have experience, but when you look at experience, people moved away to see whether that experience could get out of a situation 7 years ago, but we went back to the same position. So I hope people who are coming in will not make that same mistake, right? People say that it's a crisis where we need to come and support. There was a crisis before also. The crisis would have been different, right? But did they come and deliver? No. The law should be equal to everyone in this country, irrespective of who they are. And I think these are things that they will have to now focus on going forward.
And what's next for you, Roshan? A continuation of the Aragalaya so as to bring real change once the immediate crisis is addressed?
It would have been good if they can have an election, but we all know that we can't go in for an election. We don't have the funds, and if we do have an election, we are going to get into more trouble. So the Aragalaya was later on formed by a different group of people. Some say they must be having the backing of certain political parties. My only request is don't politicize. The struggle, like I told you, started way back in March when people came onto the streets in different parts of the country. So yes, one segment is driving forward, but please don't do it for the wrong reason. Don't be selfish. We've been selfish for 74 years. It's about time that we put this country, it's a beautiful country, come up with national policies and let everyone take it forward.
Well, I think we've all learned more about the people power this evening. Thank you for joining us on the show and for sharing your message, Roshan.
Thank you so much, Ashwini, for giving me that opportunity. Like I told you, I'm not coming here to get something out of this. I just want to get a message across. I'm on my last leg. I have no plans of going into politics. I have no plans of going into the cricket board. I have no plans of going anywhere but to see my country prosper and to see that the younger generation will have a better life, better future, and a place better than us.
And that's all the time we have for you this week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.